Hi, guys. Welcome back to Finding Your Indie. I'm Bonnie Paulson.
And I'm Andy Stevens.
And we are here with a super fun Monday marketing tips and tricks. We're getting ready for Vegas. So if you're going to be in Vegas, make sure you say hi to us. We would love to say hi and to see where you're doing in your career. And we are actually covering how do you know if you need an ad manager? And we get this question a lot. I mean, it's in our form. I don't know if I need an ad manager. I don't know, what that qualifies as. And so we're actually going to talk about that. We're going to do a small little series next week. Next Monday, we're going to talk about what should your ad manager be doing, and then maybe so on from there. So let's just get this started. Mandy, what is something that you ask someone if they are asking about having an ad manager?
Well, I usually ask them, how much are they making a month?
That's the first one for me too.
Yeah, that's the first one because you have to have certain things set up before you need an ad manager. You have to have certain things in place.
Right,
Make sure
exactly.
you're making a certain amount of money first. I think anyway.
Yeah, I agree. And because we have taken on people who don't make very much, which sometimes is very, very stressful for both people, because not only are you paying for the
Mhm.
ads, you're also paying for the manager fee. And that is, like, for us, we're not cheap. So it's stressful because, it's like this food should be feeding your
Mhm.
family, when
Yeah,
sometimes being an ad, having an ad manager, like if it's expendable income, great, then it's not as stressful. You definitely are. And then you also need to prove, like, is your stuff sellable? And if you can get
right.
it to a certain level, then yeah, that you can scale it up because you have people consistently buying, which is great. That's a huge thing. Nothing worse than being like, I had a book bub and I got up to $50,000, or whatever, viral. My
Yeah.
TikTok went viral or whatever, and I made a massive amount of money that month. Now I'm back down to $2,000 a month, but it's like,
Yeah.
well,
The books have to have sell-through and we have to know that it's something marketable.
yes. Yeah, exactly. Is it marketable? And then that's another thing that your ad manager should, or if you're looking at talking to an ad manager, if they just take you on just because and they're just trying to fill a spot, that's sometimes a little worrisome. Mandy and I, we actually look at, that's why we have a form. We have you fill it out. We have you put all your information. Like, are you with Amazon? Give us the link.
Mhm.
And then we look at your stuff. If we actually don't think it's something we can sell because of the product packaging, we'll tell you that. And I mean, I'm kind of blunt about it. I'm like, hey, you need to fix this and this and this before we can actually work with you. It looks like you have some great stuff, but this needs
Let's
to
work on
be,
this. Yeah.
yeah, you need
But
to
I
work on
mean,
this.
but yeah, that's why I love you though. You're an honest person and
Thank
we
you
don't
too.
want we don't want to just
Take people's
take
money.
from people. Yeah,
No.
it's not who I am as a person. If
Yeah,
I
I agree.
genuinely think I can help you, then that's one thing. But if I don't, then I'm just gonna pass and be like, okay, well, let's fix this first. And then
Yeah.
from
And it's nothing personal. It's
no,
just,
it's only business.
yeah. And that's one of the things why we do this, right? Where we're doing the YouTube channel. We're trying to get free information out there because our goal is, and it's so funny because I was having this conversation with a potential client yesterday, and I was like, look, we give a ton of free information. And our goal, and this is not an altruistic thing, we want to be helpful, but when you get to a certain point where you are making money, and then we'll
Mhm.
talk about a few of the other tips on, questions that we ask as we get down further about what else qualifies you for an ad manager need. It's funny because I'm like, no, we actually want to be able to take your money. We want to be able
Yeah.
to, but we need you to a certain point before that is something that we are both ethically where we both ethically feel comfortable with. And Mandy and I work together so well because we both are like, no, we don't want to take people's money. We want to help people. And yeah, we'll take your money. Like, if you want to go and throw your money at something random, hey, I'll give you my Venmo account, not a problem. But we don't want to take people's money just because we feel like we need to fill a
Mhm.
slot. That's not the way we do things. So this is why we really want you to think about, are you ready for an ad manager? Not just do you need one, but are you ready for one? So an income level is a really good place to be looking at. And some ad managers do it as a consult where they teach you. We don't do that. We do teach you and tell you what we're doing, but we don't teach you in terms of like, hey, you're going to go do the work and we're going to sit over here and tell you what you're doing. We actually don't want your hands in the pot at all, because Mandy's shaking her head. No, I make notes of everything, every change that I make. I know Mandy does something similar. If there's been a change in your account and it wasn't me, and I know it wasn't me because I noted it in my notes, I start to get really upset because usually I go after Facebook or I go after Amazon and I'm
Right.
like, look, this change was made and it was not by me. And I'm the only one making changes in this account. And then I go and I'm like, okay, I just letting you know, I spoke to the customer service, blah, blah, blah. And then you tell me, oh yeah, I was in there and I turned on some ads or I turned off some ads. And I'm like, okay, look,
Well, here's the thing too, because of fluctuation, you have to know all variables
all
going on at all
variables.
times. So
Yes.
like I have some clients who are running their Amazon ads. So I'm like,
Right.
which is fine, but
But it's still,
I'm like, don't touch anything
exactly.
while we're testing. Do not touch anything because we have to know the different variables of what's going on, whether it's a market or a war or, you
Change
know,
of season or
yeah, change
Prime
of
Day
season, fourth
deals or Zoe
quarter.
Bub or yeah,
Yeah.
like it just keeps going, right? Like the or we need to know what's going on. Another thing, I'm glad you brought that up. Another thing that I like to know is because it's almost like you have like the AMS, right? And then what I like to tell my clients if they're going to have someone running them or they're running them themselves, and I'm only going to take on Facebook or vice versa, I say, okay, here, because we're ad strategists, right? We're not just ad managers, we're ad and
Right.
marketing strategists. So we literally will say, at least I know I will say this. I've heard you say this with me, where, like, for instance, I had a client yesterday who was like, the potential client, she was like, I have somebody running my AMS ads. And I was like, okay, great. I want you to drop your budget, not all the way, but drop it to where it's manageable and to where it's not going to go up. Because what's going to happen is as we increase conversion on your landing page with your Facebook ads, AMS will start to spend your money more in your AMS ads. And I'm not going to be able to
Exactly.
tell what's doing what. So let's
Right.
control the variable, as like you said, control the variable as much as we possibly can, which means we want to have lower fluctuation in our spend in AMS. If there's a promotion, I have to know about it. If
Yeah.
you are doing a book promo or book funnel, or you're doing, I don't care what you're doing. I need to know about it.
Yeah, me too. I asked a client yesterday. I was like, on the 13th, I was like, did you send out a newsletter? Did you have a promo? Because we had a
Yes.
huge spike and they didn't, but I had just started ads, so that was good,
Okay.
you know.
Perfect. So that,
So
yeah, exactly.
I had to know whether it was what I did or what.
Exactly. Exactly. And
And
next, no, go ahead.
we were in Meek talking to one of my clients because they had he has his own was running his AMS ads and he had a huge spend that one day. It was like
Mhm.
huge. I was like, whoa, so we had to talk to him about that.
Yeah,
So
because
he
that's
mhm,
something that you should have your ad manager talk about. And we'll talk about that more in depth, like what your ad manager should be doing for you and what you should expect from them next week. This week, though, let's keep talking about what we need. Like, do you need an ad manager? Which
mhm,
brings us to the knowledge, right? Like, we have clients asking us, I don't know what happened here, or why is this doing this? Or why did it suddenly drop? So it's interesting because you have people ask all the time, what does this mean? What I have low CPC, I have a high CPC, I have low CTR. Like, how do I know what my conversions are? What's a good conversion rate? Like all of
mhm,
the questions, right? And we have a lot of knowledge, we have a lot of experience, and it's taken us quite a while to get here. I've been doing ads and like really learning the ads and like specializing in ads for about 5, maybe 6 years. And Mandy and I we started consulting about 4 years ago, and
mhm.
then we switched over to ad managing. And so this has been something that takes up our time, right? Like we're experts at this. This is our job, or we're professionals. And if you want to get there, that's great. Like that's awesome. You have to start somewhere. But do you have the time and the energy to learn everything that we have learned? So that's what you're paying for when you get an ad manager, is you're paying for the experience, you're paying for the knowledge, right? That you might
Mhm.
not have time to do. And we have put in
Things constantly change. I was
constantly
talking
change,
to one of my clients the other day, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were doing this." I'm like, "Yeah, we're doing that because things constantly are changing."
constantly. They're constantly changing. So that video I did on emojis being bad in ads, we're testing again right now because that happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and 2020. So now we're testing again at the nervousness of my own self, but it's fine because we're testing, because things constantly change. And when Facebook is like, hey, put an emoji in here, it's like, oh, you have an emoji option here. That does that mean that we can do emojis? So it's Facebook. You never know what they're going to say or is okay or not okay. So we're constantly testing that as well. Let's talk about the type of person that you are. Do you need an ad manager, or can you handle an ad manager? Are you the type of person who is kind of type A and wants their hands all up in it? Are you a micromanager? because I usually ditch micromanagers after 2 months because I'm like, I'm done. I cannot be micromanaged. I
Yeah.
need to,
Yeah.
if you can do this yourself, go do it yourself, is how I feel. Right. Like,
I'm the same way.
yeah, some of my favorite clients, and it's not that I don't have a relationship with them, because I do. We've established a relationship, but what happens is they let me do my thing while they go and do their thing. They write, I work, we have communication. I think, and you can usually tell if someone's being a forced micromanager, meaning they've had experience with ad managers before, they've had experience with VAs or whatever before, and they didn't get to actually stop micromanaging. They had to micromanage for the safety, for the safety of their business and the sanity of themselves, right? Like I get that. And you can tell, like, usually you can tell because after like the first month when they're like, oh, they're doing their
Yeah.
job. Oh, I do get a report. Oh, you mean I
Right.
can back off, right? So,
Yeah.
and I've noticed that tends to be a thing. And then you hear, and then I always get things where like some clients I've been with for a couple of years now, and I can always tell when they go to a conference or something, and friends are talking about what their ad managers are doing. And they're like, oh, I didn't hear from my ad manager. I haven't heard from my ad manager for like 2 months. And this is what they're saying. And I don't know what's happening. And they're like, oh, well, I don't hear from my ad manager very much. I mean, I get the reports. And so then they come back and they're like, I want to hear from you more. And I'm like, okay, like that's fine. So then I
Yeah.
bug them, and then they're like, I don't need to hear from you as much. Never mind. I
Right.
don't care. Like the money's up. It's fine.
Hmm.
Which
I
is so
check
funny.
in, I check
I
in with
do.
everybody.
Yeah. But
I'm like, hey, what's going on here? Or,
yeah, exactly.
what's
Some
going
people I'm
on?
just like, let's not, if you don't hear from me, it's good news. We're doing good. If you hear from me, because I have a lot of going on and they have a lot going on. They
Yeah,
should
I
be
have some
working.
people. Yeah, some people I don't hear from for a long time. I just send them the reports and I'll email them and they're just busy,
They're busy, which is why they hired someone,
Yeah.
right? Like saving time is a big deal. It's a big
Right.
deal.
I
Uh,
have people who know how to do their own ads, but they don't want to because they're busy. And
yeah,
it is time consuming.
it is. Well, think about it. If you look at a like a normal business, not that authors aren't a normal business, but they're really not. Indiepreneur, like indie authors, very, very different than other businesses. But if you look at a standard business, let's say, I don't know, a slime business that's run by multiple people, they have an HR department, they've got a marketing department, they have billing and bookkeeping department, they have someone who makes decisions on what to order and how to sell, like whole bunch of stuff. And an author is trying to juggle all the things and write a book. So it's not
Yeah.
just, so yeah, I totally respect the time thing. That is one reason why it was like, yeah, it would be better for me, because then you go down to no calls. I don't have to do a call every week, because that's what we were doing when we were consulting. And it's easier for me because intuitively I don't have to explain to someone why I'm doing this. I mean, sometimes I have clients who are like, hey, why are you targeting this? And I'm like, oh, it's because of this, this, and this.
Yeah.
But generally I know what's going to work, so I don't have to explain it. But when you're consulting and you're teaching, I have to explain this, which
Yeah, that was very hard.
it was
That was,
very hard because it's not, ads are
and then
not
sometimes they
intuitive.
just don't do it. So it's like,
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, well,
or
did you do the
something
things?
changes, because
Yes.
things constantly change and you're like, oh man.
And you're like, well, everything I taught you last week, ignore. We're going to start
Yeah.
fresh. So annoying. That's right. Okay. And then we have your results. Like, when you put money on, so I had someone come and they were like, I just don't think that I'm going to need an ad manager after we'd already, discussed it. I was like, okay, well, why do you feel that way? And she said, well, I've been putting money on my books for this long, and I usually
Yeah.
don't get more than like 1 to 5 return. And I just don't think you can do that. And I'm sitting here going, challenge accepted, right? Because let's see. And I said, well, how about we just start for, give me 2 months. And because usually by that time, if they've said something like, I don't think you can do it, and I'm hearing, right,
Yeah.
challenge, then I'm very interested. I'm like, oh, like, give me 2 months and let's see what we can do. Then we get started and they're like, wait, why are you targeting that? Why are you targeting this? What's going on here? And it's like, okay, take a breath. You have not been targeting correctly. So we're essentially redoing your page. We're essentially re-engaging your landing page. We're doing all the things. And
Hmm.
so when they start to see that uptick, and I know you see that too, when they start to see that uptick, then they're like, oh my gosh, this is like a 2. This is a 3. Why are we at a 5 a 5 return? I've never had this. And I'm like, yeah, see why you might need an ad manager? Like your
Oh yeah,
results.
when they're 1 to 2, they
Yeah,
go
your
up to one
results
to
are going to
three.
be drastically, or they could be drastically different.
Right.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
No, so I was on a panel not too long ago, and we were talking about marketing. Somebody's like, I don't market, I don't spend money on marketing. But she has VAs that she pays to do all this stuff. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, well, if you're paying 2,000 for this, and you're already doing this well, why wouldn't you take some of this money and,
Make it feel
not
better.
taking from the VA, but
Yeah.
taking more and then
And
get to,
invest more.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, sometimes people don't want to hear they're like, wear things as a badge, like
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. And I'm thinking like, well, yeah, but you could be making 20 grand a month, but whatever,
Yeah, exactly. Or when people are like, "Oh, I spend this much money on ads," and it's like, "Well, you spend that much, we could probably get you to spend less and make more."
Yeah.
Like this is a thing because you're targeting or whatever. This person was like, "I have worked with multiple ad managers in the past,
Mhm.
and they said that my stuff couldn't sell." And I literally looked at their stuff and I was like, "Oh, we could do that. I could totally do
Yeah.
that. Could have," because I've done this in the past with other authors who've said, "Well, I've had, these other ad managers and they told me my stuff wouldn't sell and that they couldn't get my stuff to sell. And I'm in the hole and all the things. And I know you've seen this too. And then it's like, oh, well, give me 3 months and you get them 3 months. And it's like, yeah, we're tripling, quadrupling 10 times in your income because we're a little
Yeah. Well,
different than other ad
we don't
managers."
do this anymore because it's so stressful, but I've watched you literally take somebody from $12 to seven and $8,000 a month.
Yeah. Right.
So,
That was,
you know, I've watched you do it, but yeah, it's a little stressful.
it is stressful. I'm like, that's why we won't do that anymore. But yeah, it is stressful, but it is a challenge and we both like the challenge. So we're always like, I'm thinking about taking on this client. And then the first thing, how much are they making? No, you're not taking him on. Or Maddie's like, Bonnie,
I,
you know better. And it's like, oh, but it's a challenge.
yeah, I do everyone not that low, but I do, if somebody's around, usually I say 8 to 10, but I've taken on
Yeah.
people who are around 5
I've been
or
taking on
6.
people.
So
This is bad. The last 3 clients I brought on, they're making like 2,000, 3,000 because I want that challenge, right? Like, and I know, and they're like at 10, 15 now. So it's like, oh, sweet. Okay,
yeah,
challenge
it
over.
takes it takes a little while. It doesn't happen overnight, but yeah.
No, yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, but yeah, there is that climb, right? And there should be some scaling that should be seen.
Okay. And
Duplicates.
that person is somebody who has another job and is not living off, because if that is their only
Yes.
income, I have clients who,
Uh,
might make about 7 or 8 thousand a month, or well, they started off a little less, but I took them on because they had another job. They weren't just relying on, because
yes.
that's very stressful for me. If I
Hmm.
know that if you drop down to 3 or 4 thousand because of fluctuation, I'm not like, oh my God, you got to feed your kids.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
stressful to
Pay your more.
me.
It
Yeah.
is stressful. And remember we were talking
I,
last year how like it was like, and we can probably cover this more in the next one, but it was kind of like last year was so stressful for us because as we're developing and we're growing, we're also learning too, like what is going to be a better business model for us. That's why we started the ads and the courses. And we've been trying to do other things that will help us relieve that pressure because sometimes like when the holidays last year, it was really hard. It was
It
really
was
hard.
stressful.
It was
Very,
so
because
stressful.
it's fourth quarter, which is more difficult for ads anyway.
Yeah, getting your ROI up during fourth quarter is ridiculous. It's because you're competing
Mhm.
with everybody. So right now
Yeah.
CPCs are up. I mean, we're looking at an average of 13 cents right now. I don't like that. I'm used to like 7 and
Yeah.
6. Like this is crazy. Even 20s, even in the 20s right now, we're hitting 20s, which is like,
Yep. I have somebody who's at 22 because they're using the AI images,
yes, mhm,
but because of their genre, it's
it's appropriate.
appropriate and it works good,
Yeah, and
and
it's higher
it
conversion.
shows, yeah,
Yeah, and
shows
I've
a
been
higher
testing,
conversion.
yeah, and I've been testing out a lot of images right now with the books on them, like from BookBrush, like that
Mhm.
the instant mock-ups. Those are working really well. The conversion's nice, but CPC has been pushing up there. And I even have someone who I think we're looking at like a 33 cent CPC, but her conversion's like 9%. So I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
and that's not
Yeah,
CTR, that's conversion. So I'm all about that. Like, hey, let's keep
right.
the money coming in. So anyways, that's some of the things that you need to ask yourself. Are you a so back to the micromanaging. Are you a micromanager? Are you the type of person who can let someone do their job, or do you need to have your hands in it? That might not be, an ad manager might not be for you unless you're
At
going to,
least this ad manager is
yeah,
not for
right.
you.
Not this one. Are you the type of person who watches your sales hourly? Because that's, again, not something that I'm interested
Mm.
in. I do have some clients who are very, they watch it daily, which is smart. That's great. But worried. Oh, it dropped down $30 today,
I'm
from
like, it's a Tuesday.
it's
Back
a
off.
Tuesday, like twelve
It's a Tuesday
thousand
in
dollars.
October.
I know, $1,200 a day, and it drops down to 1170, and it's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, that dropped $30. Like,
I'm like,
that's
go look
okay.
at a Tuesday in October in
Of
2019, you know?
Yes, right. Or yeah, exactly. Even last year, October was brutal. So I feel like, yes. So are you the type of person who is like, okay, I'm going to trust these people. This is what I'm hiring them for. If you don't know, and I usually say get a reference, but for us, we are very tight-lipped about who our clients are. I don't tell people who my clients are. So if somebody's like, hey, can I get some referrals? I'm like, no, sorry, I don't need I
Not,
don't need
yeah.
you that bad, sorry. And if, because more than like, they just found us. I'm not sure how they found us. We're
I get
usually
no,
word of mouth.
I get people in our forums that I say they like blah 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 referred me, blah blah blah. So
Yes.
I do have some clients, and you have some clients who were like, hey, check
Yeah.
this person out.
Right. But then they were referred. But when we have, like, have been a couple in the past, and they're like, can I get a couple references? And I'm like, no,
Yeah, I've had that too, and I'm like, no, sorry.
sorry.
I sign
I don't need
NDAs.
your money enough to, I don't need your money, period. But
Yeah,
I don't need your money enough to break that silent. I don't want people to know who my clients are. I don't ask them for testimonials. I don't ask, because I don't care. Like, no,
yeah.
and that's like a privacy thing. Now, I have told current clients, oh yeah, I have done such and such ads. This was a good performer, whatever, if I didn't have an NDA in place, but only
Yeah,
because it's current client to current client, right? Or I
yeah.
don't like to cross because it's a privacy thing. So that's another thing. If you are going to hire an ad manager, are you doing an NDA? Are you, like, what are you doing? We don't require them, but we do
I
have.
do have some. Yeah, I have some
So
that
do
I've
I.
signed.
Yeah, which
So
is fine. I'll sign that all day long, as long as we're both protected. You bet.
yeah.
You bet I would totally do that. I've had people say I need to do an NDA, and I'm like, I mean, what am I going to do with an NDA? Like, you
Hmm.
break it and now I'm going to sue you? I don't have the time for that crap. Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? Use my ad stuff? Good luck with that. Good luck with trying to use it. Teaching it is hard. So good luck with
Hmm.
that. So yeah,
Yeah. I'm like, things are gonna change in just a couple months. Just
yeah.
wait.
So be ready for it. And yeah. So is your admin, like, do you need an ad manager? That's what you need to ask yourself. Is it in your budget? Are you, like, have you had a chance to talk to anybody? Are they also doing things for free to help people out, like we are? And my list is full. I don't have space for anybody right now. So, like, Mandy, I think you might have a spot or two open. I'm not sure. Are you open for November, or are you looking for December?
Yeah, I'm offloading a client. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
Okay.
So
Oh, so
I
you
took
are.
somebody
Okay.
on only for 3 months to help them
That's
out
right.
with things up, and then so,
Right, to
yeah.
boost them up. Okay, so you are taking on someone for November. I am not. I am like, no. But if you are interested and you're like, yeah, some of these things check boxes, but I'm not sure, just reach out and we will talk to you about it. We'll email back and forth. I hear you're interested. What are you looking for? I saw what you put in the forum. That's at findingyourindy.com. And I think it's ad hyphen
Yeah,
management.
it's in
It's on
the
our site.
navigation.
Yeah, it's easy to
Um,
see. So,
I
but
will ask you what you're making.
yeah, right. Like, that's like
That's
one of
going to
the
be my
first
first
things.
question. Where are you at right now?
Yeah, exactly. And I think I have a spot open in December, but I don't know. She might be changing her mind, because she's like, I was gonna leave, but man, we're doing so good even in fourth quarter. And I'm like, yeah, I know. We had to get through September, right? Like, September sucked. So it is what it is. So, anyways, okay. So ask yourself if you need an ad manager. You can reach out to us and say, hey, these are my circumstances. Do you think I'm in a position where I need an ad manager? We might even tell you, no, you sounds like you're doing
Yeah.
great. Why would you want to add that kind of a stress on? Because sometimes it is stressful, and it is an expense that you might not need to have. So, anyways, okay. Woo.
All right. So I was like, take it easy.
It's a lot. It's a lot. No matter what you're doing though, make sure that you are pushing and staying with your brand and doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. Like, that's what we always say here, right? Stick with your brand.
Have fun.
Have fun. Yep. Have a goal, be consistent, and hit like and subscribe so that we can keep doing these, because honestly, I tend to get like, I don't know if these are even helping anybody. So let us know if it's helping you. Make a comment. We'll answer. I promise we'll get around to it. And like I said, We look forward to seeing you next time. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments and we would like to answer them. Hit the bell. Gosh, what is that? The notification bell so that you get
Notification bell,
notifications
yeah.
when they come up. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And we will see you next time.